Vince Pagetto.
Scott Booth.
Carol Hancock.
Nancy Scott.
Steve Keller.
Laura Leroy.
Daniel Potter.
And Bob Gibb. I thought you were only going for board members at first. That's what I thought.
Oh,
Okay. We're good.
And Bruce
And-
remotely.
Bruce is
Okay.
online, yeah.
Okay,
Chelsea's online too, and so is Martin Mattenfeld is on as well.
you're here. So we do have a quorum, but I would like to make a motion to have Bruce Black included remotely for participation in this meeting
Due to unusual circumstances.
due to his not being able to be here at this time.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Bruce, you're included.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't think we have anybody. Well, first of all, we have somebody new here. I'd like him to introduce himself.
Morning, everybody. I think I've met a few of you. My name is Daniel Potter. I'm the new Public Works Director, filling in for Andrew. Coming here by way of Pinellas County. I used to work there as the Director of Engineering for their Utilities Department. And happy to be on board now with Gateway.
Will you stay for a while?
Hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna leave that up to Chelsea.
Oh, sorry. All right, I don't think, well, do we have any public comments? I mean, everybody here is kind of affiliated with the group, but do we have any public comments that, no? Approval of the minute. Our last meeting was July 27th. We did not have a meeting in August. I don't know if who's had a chance to go through the minute meetings and if there are any comments. Do we have a motion to approve?
A motion. Nancy Smith.
Steve Keller, second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, the minutes will be approved. I will sign those. Financial report, Laura, would you enlighten us?
I don't have it. I thought
Okay,
it was
that
in
takes care
there.
of
I will send it out to you guys after I get back to the office.
Okay. I mean, basically, we're
Um,
starting a new budget year, October
let
1st.
me pull up what I sent out yesterday. Give me just.
And we have money. And we have money carried over from last year,
Yep.
which should be,
I won't know what that will be. I
Okay.
won't know what you haven't used for sure until about the middle of November.
Okay.
Because it just takes some time for
Anyway.
the stuff to trickle in. But
so.
Directionally. Ballpark numbers.
I couldn't even guess. I don't know. I've been so involved with getting the new budget in that I haven't paid attention to what the
Okay.
financials are at.
So again, this is a new budget year starting October 1st, so coffers are replenished.
But actually, it doesn't mean we go nuts on October 1st because we won't actually have the money until about December or January. when
This
we'll
is
start
not a
getting the
group that
tax
generally
rates.
goes nuts.
Yeah, I know. I'm just reminding everybody, it's just my spiel I give everyone.
Okay, as long as we keep Bob under control, we
He
don't.
doesn't do the same anyway. It's you. It's your budget.
Public
not
comments,
his.
public comments.
So that is our financial report. Or we'll send out more information shortly and then,
Let me see if I can.
but we should be fine.
I'm sharing my screen.
Items for discussion, I passed around the fiscal year 2024 landscape meeting schedule. Obviously, some of these, such as the Christmas or possibly Thanksgiving, we may have issues with, which we will address when we get closer and know everybody's schedule a little bit better. But in general, those are our meeting dates, so if you could pencil them in for now, that would be great. Any further discussion on those? Oh, look good. Next item for discussion, Passarella and Associates Professional Engineering Agreement for GIS Services. For those not aware, that Passarella has been handling, putting all the maps together as to what we're actually responsible for, should be taken care of, and we're going through discussions with different groups where we have been taking care of property that we didn't have easement for, but we should be taking care of. And in some cases, there will be property we have been taking care of that we shouldn't be taking care of and we will cease to take care of. So, who put that on the agenda? Passarella and Associates, and,
That came from the district.
okay.
It just basically making sure you guys are okay with the amount, which I think it's the same as it is every year.
Yeah, and it's in our budget, so it's.
Yeah, it is. It's a line item in your budget.
It's not a hardship for us.
They have you for the landscape subcommittee for fiscal 24. They have 3 tasks for you, which are, because you guys can't see my screen. Continued layer updates to maintenance areas and easements, which we're working on. Continued maintenance easement, layer updates and maps, and create landscape contract layer for GIS database. So basically what you just said that they've
Right,
work on.
and the third thing that Laura's talking about is it will be available eventually where anybody can go on their computer, whether you're a part of this group or just the general public, and call up and see who has what area, et cetera. So it'll be available for all to the public.
I have one question, Mark.
Yeah, Bruce?
Nice hearing from all of you. What exactly does it mean by layer updates? What is a layer?
Well, okay, Bob, you want to take that?
Yeah, Bruce, Bob Gepper. The GIS map is currently available to any resident. There's limited availability because there's certain things that the normal resident can't see and administration can. But in the map, and it was developed initially for pods, there are a number of what they refer to as layers, and there are individual screens where you can overlap on a map, a physical map, to look for particular aspects. If you want to see where aeration is in the community, it'll show you where every aerator is in every pod. Another layer of the map will tell you who maintains those ponds, whether it's Solitude or some other company. Other layers will include in the future where all of our streetlights are, where all the stop signs are. Those are under the safety and security group. Specifically for landscaping, we will have layers that will clearly define those areas that the district is currently maintaining the easement on to any resident of Pelican. So if you have a question of whether it's your HOA or whether it's the town center, whatever, or the district, there is a layer that will absolutely explain that to you. And then there's other layers that will go into the legal mechanics of how those determinations were made. So it's pretty extensive. Most people won't need it, but if you're a computer geek and want to look at it, it'll keep you busy for a couple of months.
And what'll happen eventually, this is Laura, what'll happen eventually when we're ready to pull your information over into our database over at the district level, we're also working with Passarella, so all of your data will be pulled in and you'll have the same level of detail that we have at the district, so that'll make everything seamless.
Yeah, GIS is kind of a generic term. And there is a gentleman in the community, Ed Hedges, who is very knowledgeable of GIS. And he is working with the 3 subcommittees to advocate for what Passarella should be showing. Everything comes to the groups to pass or fail or whether you want it.
I appreciate the explanation because I think that'll clarify a lot of the confusion we've had up to this point.
Yep, it'll help when we go out to bid for your landscape contract in the spring as well, because we'll be able to just hand it off to the contractor and say, here's all the areas that need to be taken care of. This is the responsibility of the community association. This is the responsibility of the HOA. This is the responsibility of the district.
Thank you.
This is Marty Mantonfeld. Where is this GIS website located?
There's one that's tied into the district website, I believe.
No,
I know there's
Your
one.
none of your.
Okay, there's one that's tied into the community association website right now.
Yes. We do
The
not
Pelican
have.
Preserve Community Association website?
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
only map that I find is fishing locations.
that's one of the many layers, but that's in there also.
If I could chime in, this map or this GIS website is so rudimentary right now because the district had just started collecting this type of information and we want to create these detailed layers. So as soon as it's ready for public interface, community wide, it'll get posted. We will share the link on the district's website, and then we'll ask the same of the community association if it's not already up.
There's been a number of communications out to the residents showing them how to access this over the years, because this has been in work for about 5 or 6 years, but it's finally gaining a lot more maturity and expanding beyond ponds. I'll send you a link, Marty.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions, discussion on that? All right, next item up, I'm gonna go ahead and skip to 8C, which is color schemes for monuments. Nancy has been investigating primarily with Jennifer Lewis, different contractors, bidding for doing repainting the monuments out front, and then we would continue through the community with that same color scheme. And Nancy has gotten several bids from different contractors. And where are we?
Okay. Here's where we are. We did receive several bids from contractors. Jennifer and I had looked at a bunch of different colors and we submitted some colors, which I believe are in here, but we have some color palettes. The Pelican Preserve Board had asked for us to look at the colors at the Brocky Center, and they just don't look good. Okay, so we were really focusing on grays and tans. So there are some color schemes that we can go through. If it's in here, I can actually bring them up on my computer because they look actually better than they do in the pictures. Let me see if I can find them. Let me start there. Okay, so.
You want me to call them?
I got it. This is, and if you guys want to pass this around, just try to stay away from the keyboard. So you can see, it looks better actually on the computer than it does on here, but you're welcome to hand those out if you want to. Oh, there's only one. Okay, so I'll just kind of come around. Okay, this is
For
color.
those of you online, the picture I have up on my screen is the same one that's being shown in the room.
Right, this is color number 1. Let me walk around. This is the grays and tans. Is a little more modern than what we have out there. Stop me if I'm going too fast. Yeah, if you happen to have it up online, you'll see it. Okay, so I brought my.
Yeah.
This is number 1.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Should they say color lunch on it? For the color?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. I can't walk around with them on. Okay, number 2.
Right, let me see number 1. Yeah, this is number 1. Okay. So are you
Mm-hmm.
showing them 4 different options?
I'm showing them everything that's in here. So this is the deeper grays. Personally, I like this one, but you guys will have to decide.
Deeper, it's called deeper gray.
Can you somebody read off the color schemes?
Number 6.
Scheme 2 would be, body A is nomadic travels. Body B is metropolis mood, and the trim is Snow White.
Sorry, yeah, it's.
In the doors.
Superman.
Metropolis and Disney, Snow White.
Metropolis is Superman.
Yep, Superman and Snow White.
That's pretty.
Well, we're not done.
Okay, there's more. You tried to give a bunch of choices. Whoops,
No.
Larry.
Color 3 scheme. Body A is silver lining, body B is on the road. And the trim is Z flowers, so I'm sure that tells you exactly.
I didn't see the color part done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The flower actually just reminds me of flour like you bake with, like.
Being a
color.
colorblind, this is some of the disadvantage. They all look the same.
all shades of
Actually,
gray.
Yeah.
let me go back a minute, Bob, because let me show you 2 real quick, because this is the one I really like. But everybody's gonna have to decide. 1, 2. This is
They look much more blue in those print dots.
kind of a gray with a
Okay.
So that's.
snow white background, and then 3 is a little different. If you look at the stones here,
The back, the biggest. And then
that's where you're saying a little
The
different.
middle doesn't get painted, this part.
What is the options? Is this just the monument?
You guys are
Body
body.
A is the
Well-
monument. Oh, it's over there.
Everything, including the wall
I'm sorry. What else?
and the guardhouse.
Oh, okay.
Number 3.
Laura, does Landscape Group pay for the guardhouse painting as well?
No, that goes under safety and
This is more
security.
of a flower. versus
They're
a
responsible
white.
for maintenance of the guardhouse.
Just curious.
This is 3.
And as long as we're talking about the guardhouse, I was notified that repair work has to be done on it because it's been hit twice.
Yeah, we know. Jen's working on it.
But my question is, we know who hit it. Why would we?
We're working on that as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't want to pay for it because we.
Well, we'll have to get reimbursed is what we'll go after.
4 next.
There was damage to the, what's this community, right, Vincenzo?
It is a
Monument
gray.
also,
This part.
Yeah.
but I don't think we know who
This
did
one.
that. Do
Is
we?
more of the green.
That was-
No, that was just, so that we'll just have to eat, but it's very minor.
That's been a while.
See,
Yeah.
this is.
Yeah, the boards had people said that they would pay for
green.
it, so,
Okay.
yeah, we're,
Okay.
trust me, I'm not gonna pay for something if I don't have to.
That was not inferred in the email that I got. It costs $110 an hour to repair it. And it's like,
Right.
No, we're going, they agreed to pay for it.
so my response was, who did the damage? They told me, it's like, why wouldn't he pay for this?
That's number 4.
Yeah, we're taking this to
Okay.
Yeah, but you look at the columns, you'll see the green color. Oh, it doesn't look good, in my opinion.
This is nomadic travels, so it's a little later.
Yes, I'm not.
Yeah, right. Okay, everybody saw this one?
The green scheme number,
That's
4.
4. Yeah.
Right. Did you see this,
So I have a-
Bob?
Yep.
Okay.
This is Marty Mantonfeld. I have a question about the paint. Is it
Mhm.
specially designed to be okay in a water environment? Because you have fountains there that are going to be spraying, and we're looking at increasing the height of the fountain spray. So they'll be subject to a water environment. Are these paints designed for that purpose?
They are outdoor paints. What I am recommending is that a product called Rust Off be used up front to avoid the rust from the water.
The contractor is aware of the conditions. They've been out there and
Yep.
seen where they will be used, and they do warranty these paints.
So those are the 4 color palettes. My recommendation to the group would be number 2, which is the Nomadic Travels, the Metropolis Mood, and the Snow White.
Well,
Bob Geffert, before you have an opinion on it, because I don't really have a big one, but I want to make sure it's community input.
Right.
Jen has been involved. I wanted to reinstate that. Jen has been involved, and Nance, has
Yes.
the board been involved? So, okay, this is the first time I'm hearing it. So, just so
Yeah,
it's
Jen's involved, definitely.
good, okay.
Okay.
Has
Steve
this
Keller, I have a
been
question.
presented-
Is that the same scheme Colonial has gone with? Because they've gone with a gray white.
I don't know the
Okay.
answer to that.
I'm sure it's some
close,
obscure.
a little bit of gold. Accent.
Has this been presented to the Architectural Control Committee?
Not yet. I think we have to agree on something before we move forward with anything like that.
Reasonable.
What would be the process for getting this finalized, approved, where we can give it to a contractor to actually do? Who needs to sign off on it?
Of these.
PPAC in a minimum,
Yeah, if it's,
because they're funding it.
if you would present it to them for their approval, and then once we sign off on the contract, we'd have a purchase order that would go to the vendor.
I understand that part, but everybody's concerned about getting appropriate community buy-in, so it's not just PPAC saying, here you
Well,
go.
I think we just got that if Nancy's comfortable.
Well, the board, but Architectural Control Committee, I had
Yeah.
thought of it should be, there should be an application submitted to them.
Right.
And they meet regularly.
Normally, we don't submit through the,
Well, but on this particular case, because it is so, and it's also only my opinion, that's all.
okay.
But because it's every monument in the community, we want as much buy-in and foreknowledge as we can possibly get.
Okay,
Plus, if it was like to like, you wouldn't have to do it,
Right,
but
right.
it's not.
We're changing. Yes.
so as I understand the process, we need to make a presentation.
Well, this is a little different too, I mean, because they are district assets, but it's in your community, so normally,
no,
like
I-
the ones in Gateway, we would just paint them.
Right.
Just trying to understand
Yeah.
what needs to be done, so we can move forward as opposed to,
Right.
Yeah, I guess there's for me, there's the unknown of what needs to happen inside your community, because that's not a step that we would normally take in the
So-
process.
What I understand needs to be done is if we have selected a color, then I would present that to or Nancy, or somebody would present it to the PPAC board. They would give their approval, hopefully. Is PP, and then we could present it to the Architectural Control Committee and get their approval, and then we could proceed. Is that accurate?
Well, I would change the order just a little bit. Once this group agrees, then I would look for the board to approve it and architecture. Once everybody there is bought in, take it to PPAC, then it goes to the board.
Well, the ACC is a committee of the board.
Okay,
The
well-
board does not have to
Okay,
involve.
if ACC does it, then it's good enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, if we could go to the ACC and get it approved. And then, once it's approved, we could go out to the community, and if you guys want to do a survey or something.
Oh,
Hello, this is Marty again.
I was confused, because that's what I thought I was hearing.
We will never please everybody, and I understand that.
And I would think if the board, I think we could we could do these simultaneously, right? We could take the color palette to the next board meeting, which unfortunately is today, so it's next month.
Our board doesn't need to do it, Nancy.
At all.
Only the architectural.
Okay,
control
fine.
committee.
So this is
They're
an easy process.
They meet twice a month, so.
This is an
we can
easy
put together an
process.
application.
Right.
So
They won't meet till next month now.
what I'm hearing is we present to them, assuming they sign off and don't have any issues with it. And I only want to give them one choice. I don't want to give. them-
Exactly, we're gonna give them
Multiple choices. Then we'll present to
Well, I
the,
would say put the agenda item together, we'll just take it to P-PAC, and you can let them know that you either have met or will be meeting with the Architectural Control Committee, and this is your recommendation, because
Okay.
then you can just knock
So
it
it's-
out.
Right.
okay.
Yeah, get it all done at
Yeah.
once.
This is something I probably prefer the contractor not do until we get out of the rainy season, so.
It'll take some time anyway, because
Yeah.
they gotta do the PO, and they gotta get the paint, and they gotta,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you wouldn't get to P-PAC until the 12th of October.
Okay.
And then depending on the dollar amount, I'm assuming it's gonna be more than $30,000.
Actually, I don't think it was.
It's
too
not.
bad.
Well, that's only front monument, but can I hear all monuments?
Well.
No, we're just focusing on the front right
Yeah.
now.
my-
Oh, okay.
my- yes.
That would be-
We do the front.
Okay.
And then if we get a person, as we've been told, we may get access to if you hire somebody,
Oh, our,
Oh, have
How are they
it
going?
internally. yeah.
that person would then be given the material to, as he has time, just keep working his way through the community. That person.
If
Okay,
you're
so-
looking for broad
Are
buy-in,
we, sorry,
if you're looking for broad buy-in, why don't you present it to the president's meeting?
they're not looking for broad buy-in, Marty. If this group, P-PAC and Architectural Control buys in, that is the buy-in. Absolutely present it to the president's informational. But I think they're trying to avoid a vote on the color scheme.
Okay,
Correct. Vince, you had a,
Vince Pagetto. Right now, a lot of the monuments entering every street are all different. Are we
Correct.
gonna go to one concept?
that would be my personal
Plan.
preference.
Intent.
The only one that has a color scheme close to this that I'm aware of is a villa, because they redid all of their houses, their condo association, so they dictated the colors for their houses and at the same time did monuments as well. So I would contact them, but their color scheme is actually closer to this as opposed to the gold tan old Florida, so it would not be as obvious that they are not.
And when they did it, we weren't functioning as a landscape group, so they were left to do their own. Moving forward in the future.
They did take it to the architectural
Yep.
control.
Yeah, no, I'm not faulting a villa at all. I think it looks great. I mean, better than the old Florida style. my
Right.
opinion.
The yellows.
And I guess you guys paid for it, right?
So.
So I'd like to make a motion to take forward scheme number 2 to the appropriate entities and to move forward with getting approval on this with the ACC.
Sorry.
Cindy Watterson, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Body A, is that the basis here? And then body B is the little insert?
And it's also the pillars, if you look, the
Yeah.
inserts and then the columns are the
Pillars
darker
are body
color.
B?
Yes.
Correct.
And then the inserts are B.
Correct.
Can't go too much, but so A is like all of this stuff and then the inserts and you can tell that.
That's your Pelican too,
So that would be this color.
Insert is dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, body B and then the columns are darker too. And then the trim is white.
Really good. Black. The color.
It's Snow White on there, like that was muddy, this is Snow White.
Snow White.
So,
So that's really pretty.
So Nancy has put together a motion that we go with scheme 2 at this point.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, Vince,
Vince
second.
Pajero.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, so I want to move on to the quotes that we got, and for a minute, I'm gonna stay away from money, which I know everyone's interested in. But I have to say that some of the quotes that came in, the detail was lacking a lot of stuff, okay? So I put those companies aside, right, completely. And then I was looking for a company that was going to include repairs and all the things that need to be done to ensure that this lasts for time to come. And so I don't know if you've all had a chance to read any of the quotes, but my recommendation would be to go with Ellis Brothers. There are a couple things here, though, that I do believe we need to make sure happens. I mentioned the mildew spray and the protection for the concrete and the paint, which I'd like to see them add to this because I did not find it in here. And inclusively with repairs. So let me just go through this real quick. So high pressure clean areas to include the fascia, drip edge, stucco soffit, stucco ceiling, stucco body, decorative brands, columns, awnings, knee walls, pillars, keystone caps and moldings, wood, pergolas. And then the paint would be for the stucco fascia, stucco soffit, stucco ceiling, stucco body, face of decorative brands, corbels, columns, knee walls, and pillars. The only thing that I would also recommend is that we use 2 coats of paint, even though they asked for 1. So I think ask Jen to go back and ask for those 2 things and make any adjustments.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
They provide some kind of warranty for their work. right?
yeah, I have to look and see where it is. Okay, here's the warranty. Let's see. And these are still prices. You know it off the top of your head?
No, I don't.
Okay,
I was just thinking they warranted it. And
I would put 2 coats of paint in my house, so that's why I'm recommending that. I'll have to go back.
Do you think that
and-
they addressed that through the top coat? Because
well,
it says application of top coat of paint.
Oh,
yeah, so the top,
Prime too.
yeah, the top coat to me, I thought was the primer, but I could be wrong.
Top coat's color.
Okay.
Yeah.
Application of a top coat of paint to exterior, application of paint on exposed previously painted exterior wood, application of paint on miscellaneous metal. So I don't see a second coat of paint going on, a primer coat going on either.
Oh, yeah, it says 1 coat will be applied.
Right. So I think we're probably gonna ultimately recommend that we go with them, but I think that we need just a little more due diligence to make sure that, you know,
Well, the district has a contract person, right, to go over to make sure we're protected, Laura.
Yeah,
And they should be doing the warranty.
warranty here is, Florida Paints they're using Florida Paints for the paint, will provide a factory warranty on the stucco portions of the project for 10 years, no warranty against rust, mildew, mold, and wood rot.
which page was that?
Sounds reasonable.
That's on page 7.
and I agree, when I paint myself, it's usually 2 coats.
Right.
But if they're giving us a 10-year warranty, do we want to pay for the second?
But they're
coat?
only warranting the stucco portions of the project, right? So other things are going to be painted. If we go back and we look at what they listed was going to be painted. So,
Well, maybe the second coat would be significantly cheaper.
I would think. they would
Yeah,
be
and
picked on it.
for the work they're doing, their quote, I'll tell you what their quote was because it was totally reasonable, $6,400 for all of it,
Yeah, that's great.
you know? So that's my recommendation, because the proposal for the repairing work needs to be formed a gatehouse, 2 pedestrian walkthrough, 2 monuments, 2 sitting areas with pergolas, and 2 knee walls. That's a
That
lot.
included the guardhouse too.
Yes.
So,
And that's the paint and everything?
yes,
It's crazy.
yes.
Colonial and Tree Line, we're not doing that anymore. The main entrance at Colonial.
That was another issue that I had thought of at one point. We are going to potentially own the monuments on the corner of Colonial and Tree Line for at least a
10
few
more
more
years.
years.
Well,
Well,
if we don't pay it off first, the bond doesn't get paid off.
there's a
for-
bond
yeah.
issue with a number of years. If nobody pays, if the community does not pay off the bond early, it's 10 years. We are shutting down the fountains in there because of the ongoing maintenance cost of those. But due to the fact that they are coming in so reasonable, I'm wondering if for continuity, since we're gonna have them for years, we'd want to go ahead and get a quote on painting the ones out of Colonial and Tree Line as well.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah, this is Nancy. I say absolutely. The more you paint, the better the price, right? The more work you give them, the less it's going to cost in the long run.
And again, they could use a little freshening up and we're gonna have them for a while.
And they're all mapped.
Right.
The only question I have, because I agree and love what I'm seeing, have we considered the pergolas? And what needs to be done on them in any way, shape or form? Because I wouldn't want to do the pergolas after the painting and then have the staining or whatever drip
The
down on.
pergolas don't look too bad.
If they're good, that's great.
I didn't go up and check them for rot.
We replaced them not that many years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah, the only pergolas being addressed in this quote is by the 2 sitting areas.
Right, and there are pergolas out on the corner of.
Right.
Yeah, and down at Colonial.
So I guess
May
what
I-
my recommendation, sorry. Go ahead,
May I-
Bruce.
This Bruce, make a suggestion. Since this warranty is talking about, there's no warranty for reoccurring rust, mildew, etc. Should we address the pumps first before the paint? So any adjustments could be made prior to the fresh paint job? Because it would be terrible, we deal with the pump system on the fresh paint and find there's adjustments to be made and damage could be caused on the new paint job. So
I think the pumps are actually in the works. I know a quote was received for putting in new pumps to give us a better display at the fountains. And that actually goes through ponds. And it was pretty reasonable. I mean, it was not a huge amount, so we can check with ponds.
But we ought to coordinate
to
too.
see where they
We
are
ought to
on
coordinate.
that.
Plus, in
I'm just-
addition, sorry.
sorry, I'm just concerned more about damage done. If it's not properly installed, too much spray, whatever could occur. That maybe we could get the pumps in place before the paint job starts. So we have a trial period before the fresh paint is done. So we could maybe, prevent damage that this warranty doesn't cover.
Okay,
Plus, this is Nancy, there are products like rust off and anti-mildew retardants that could be added to this project that are not that costly to protect our assets.
Well,
So
maybe-
that's something else that, Jennifer should check into.
Yeah, I would.
Jennifer.
Yep, that might be something worth looking into, especially if it's reasonable, as you're saying.
Right.
yes, Ben.
Just with Vince Picciotto with the time frame. When do they hang all the Christmas ornaments and garland all over these monuments?
It's usually
They're up for-
November.
Yeah,
They're up for a month and a half.
They're up a long
months.
time. We get our money's worth. Early November, I think.
Yeah, I don't think, this is Nancy, I don't think at the pace we're moving right now and the things that need to be done, we have to worry about that. I think we're looking at the beginning of next year before this actually goes into action.
So,
If I understand correct, so we have a process to move forward with the color scheme.
Yep.
But we would like to do more investigation as to adding additives to prevent mildew, rust, et cetera, and things like that.
Correct.
And check into the cost of a second coat of paint and painting the monuments on the corner of the Bonito tree line.
Correct.
Okay,
I would suggest, since the color scheme you guys have already decided on, so if you take that to the architecture committee, but don't bring it to P-PAC until you're done.
You have
Or you have
everything,
your, everything put in place and you're got the final proposal with the final dollars so that
Okay.
they can okay it.
okay.
If you wanna
So-
just put it in your update that you're working on it, you know, that this is where you're at with it and if you get it in time, fine. If not,
Okay.
then just wait.
Okay,
Laura,
Yeah,
is Jen there?
she is not.
Okay, so I just wanted to chime in real quick. So these quotes or this agenda item came across my desk, and I asked Jen to provide the additional quotes because we wanted to show the comps and the work that the committee put in. When I was reviewing some of these quotes, it wasn't apples to apples per se comparison. And so whatever the next steps are, if you're choosing to ask vendors for pricing for second quotes, just make sure that you have a clear scope that you're requesting. Some included the pergolas, some didn't. Some included the guardhouse, some didn't. So we need to make sure that we're consistent when we're requesting quotes from vendors. And
Normally, our contracts manager will put something together. If you give him the scope, he'll lay out a format and then you can just send that out to all the vendors and they just fill in the blanks.
Well,
That way everybody gets the same.
I didn't have the conversations with most of the vendors. Jennifer did, but she gave them all the same requirements.
Okay.
Yet their responses did not cover everything.
Sure.
So,
Pretty typical.
I mean, I guess the question in my mind is, can we decide today to, regardless, to move forward with Ellis Brothers and give them an opportunity to add additional work to the quote that they gave us?
My suggestion would be to reach back out to Ellis Brothers, because you're looking, that's your intention is to move forward with them
Mhm.
and ask them to get back the pricing for you for the additional items that you want. So you have a bottom line figure before you request approval.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
But I guess my, I'm
zero
trying
in
to
on
articulate
Ellis
that
Brothers.
we don't want to go back to all these vendors again because they didn't do what we asked them to do.
Chelsea, would that, do you think that would, since they want to move forward with their recommendation, that just the price is gonna change and they want to add a little bit to the scope, is it okay for them just to reach right back out? I think, yes, but because we've gotten the other stuff, the other vendors have already submitted all the information.
is this company the low bid?
Yes, by far. They're like half of what everything else was.
And more
Okay.
inclusive.
And they're more inclusive, she said. So they, not only are they less, they actually included more in the cost.
I mean,
So-
I'm comfortable with that, but we just need to make sure it's a clear scope of work and we need to make sure, I don't know that we have them as a vendor in our system or that if we've done any work with them before, so it may,
Jennifer has.
Jennifer
They're
has,
not in
okay,
our system.
perfect.
Yeah. So we'll just have to
Yeah,
get them set up
I'm
as a
I'm
vendor.
comfortable with that. We just need to make sure that, the detail of everything is laid out as you guys want. And then the key is if you're not anticipating awarding this work until after the first of the year, you have to make the vendor aware of that because their pricing may change.
Right. Let them know. I mean, there's some processes that have to go through and then just let them know again because of the seasonality with the decorations and the rain and everything that they won't be starting right away.
Sure.
And to take this a step further, I know you all selected a color scheme. Is this going to be the same color scheme that will continue throughout the rest of the community?
Yes,
We hope so.
That's the intent.
Okay. Good work.
Thank you. With that said, can we have a motion to move forward with Ellis Brothers in conversation to extend the quote prior to going back to P-PAC for approval once it's all inclusive?
I would make that motion.
Second the motion, Cindy Waterson.
Further discussion?
So just to clarify, your intention at this point is to take the color scheme to your architectural committee here
Mhm.
and then to contact Elias Brothers to have them give you, to broaden the scope a little bit and to see what the price would be for those additional services.
Yes.
Okay.
And yes, but there's a but here. I have asked Mark to pick up this project because I'm so overwhelmed with other projects.
Well, you would be the landscape
Well,
committee, not you.
Well,
Yeah.
and I anticipate Jennifer would actually be the one. If you could communicate to her what extras you're looking for.
Mhm,
with
okay.
it. Okay.
And Randy can help as well. I mean, we do have a contracts manager and
Well,
that's what.
Keep in mind, after October 1st. I mean,
Right.
It's the district. So basically, starting on Saturday, everything comes from us and not Jen. So you need to coordinate with
You
Randy.
should be shifting to.
Yeah.
District
Daniel.
Yeah.
Daniel
Well,
is who you
Daniel-
should be
Yep.
coordinating with, and
He's
then
right
if,
here.
if,
Okay.
if he needs to pull in Randy, he can. Or if he needs Jen's assistant being the boots on the ground, then that needs to come from Daniel.
Absolutely.
Does their proposal require a down payment?
We don't do
You
down
don't-
payments.
So
I
let
know
me,
we
be-
don't do that. I'm asking, does their proposal require one?
Not that I read, but I could have overlooked it.
Oh, well,
Let me
I don't
look
know. I
now.
don't-
I'll
I
look
don't have the
now.
proposal in front of me.
I have it up on the screen. And it's in the agenda.
Okay,
I don't see anything in here that asks for a deposit.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome. With that said, I'm unclear as to what my engagement will be here moving forward. I really would like to take a step back. If we're
People
gonna be
don't like it,
friendly
you're
with the
the-
district, then Mark can handle it.
People don't like it, you're the owner. That's
Yeah,
the
right.
only thing.
You get to be the
You
scapegoat.
know, I think most of the heavy lifting's already been done, so.
Well, technically, this proposal expires today. It says it was good for 90 days after June 20.
I feel confident that
I'm-
if Jen
yeah.
gave them a call, that they would extend it.
And we're gonna pass that baton now to Randy and to
Mark.
No, Daniel.
Daniel. Daniel and Randy will be spearheading it. Okay.
Randy will help coordinate putting all the contract stuff together when it gets to that point, but you can coordinate the vendor side of it.
And I
Anything else need to
feel
do?
comfortable with that because Mark's had some pretty much engaged in this, so.
And if Jennifer is part of this process, I think she should be attending some of these meetings. while
She
we're-
can't.
Absolutely.
She can't, I guess she's got a conflict with PPCA and a meeting, or we have to change our date.
They have their management team meetings.
Right.
But Daniel's here and
Yep.
he and Jen they're conquering everything going forward after October 1st. They're a team when it comes to your projects over here, so you guys can work together.
Okay, thank
Okay. Are we finished with that discussion for now?
One
Okay, Bob.
question, comment, excuse me. Are we considering, or do we want to consider mirroring both sides of the entrance to look alike, to have fountains and a display on the Colonial side also?
My opinion, that's a bigger bite than I'm willing to look at this point.
Okay.
If we can just get things painted, cleaned up, looking good,
Fair enough.
I mean, on my point, I'm trying to do baby steps and the painting is a minimal expense. So if we can get that far, I'm content at this point. Not that we won't investigate, as you said.
And I'm not advocating, I'm just
Yeah.
saying that people have asked me if we were gonna do it, and I thought that this was part of the $350,000 mandate that PPAC gave to the group in 2022.
There was nothing about monuments and
Well,
stuff.
no,
like
but to
that.
refresh the whole entrance is what I meant. And
Okay. Well,
no,
we'll look at addressing.
I don't wanna
that
spend money.
at a
I'm
future
okay.
time.
We can always address it later.
okay,
That's more, like I said, that's a little bigger bite than I'm going to start on at this point.
fair enough.
And this is Nancy, I just want to thank Mark for picking this up for me. I really appreciate it. I just got way too much.
All right, moving on.
Going back to A.
Sure, there's landscape items. I think that's just a miscellaneous catch-all. I do have a few things I would like to discuss. Park benches, I've talked to Daniel about that. We're still planning on doing probably 5 park benches, 5 foot in length, made out of composite with concrete pads.
Mark,
Yes,
Andrew did get me up to speed, and I'll get Daniel up to speed
okay,
on that before he left. I know that Andrew got pricing. From a district standpoint, I have some concerns because you can't just have a bench floating out on a pond bank, there's slope concerns, there's ADA concerns. So I think we need to talk through this a little bit more. I know Andrew had said his thought is perhaps constructing a concrete pad directly off the sidewalk with enough setback. But I just, that's my concern is you have to be ADA compliant, and putting a bench on a concrete pad or in concrete footers on a pond bank, that's the
It's not
concern.
really on the bank. It's
Yeah.
back from the pond, and Ponds Group paid to have probably 7 of them put in several years ago. We're just trying to mirror what was done before.
Closer to the sidewalk.
It is close to the sidewalk.
But if
We
we're not
still,
compliant, then we ought to bring everything up to compliance. If we have, now this is separate. Laws are constantly changing and it's a pain in the keister, but they are. But to your point, we need
Well,
to
I
make
would
sure.
love to put in park benches if we could do it
Mark-
without.
Mark, I'm not saying no, I'm just saying, let's think through this, and we've got to come up with ADA accessible path to get to them.
It's in Daniel's court.
All right, so Daniel will let us know what has to be done as far as that goes.
So our $200 bench could be 3,000.
Well, we were figuring they were gonna be close to $2,000 a piece for composite benches with a pad, but if we have to put in pathways and stuff, I have no idea.
Yeah, let me get with Chelsea and I'll get up to speed and I'll get back with you now.
Okay,
And also coordinate with ponds. We
Yeah.
gotta modify what we've done.
and I really didn't have any other miscellaneous.
I do.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Included in the packet is some pictures and descriptions of areas that I took along Cypress, Prado Drive, and a couple from Pelican where a sign was down. We have been talking about, and I know that many of you may be aware of this already, but some of the trees that were put in along Prado Drive did not make it. And I'm hoping today we'll be talking about replacing those.
That's B.
That's big,
Oh,
And plants.
dead plants.
well, it's all landscaping items. Sorry, my glasses, I see trees. Oh, okay. Okay, so that, we'll be talking about that, which I was correct. But there is like grass that we've been talking about for months and months and months. That's just dead, you know, along certain areas that I've laid out here. And I really think now that we finally got our rainy season in September, which should have started in June, we should really think about replacing some of that sod. So, and there's also some beds I found that I don't know if we missed on when we went down Prado Drive. So, you know, I gave a whole list. And I'm hoping that we can address some of these things.
And again, what we did last time, well, I consider us have done 2 major passes in Pelican. And I did not consider the last one necessarily to be the final one. I had already figured we would be doing one more, but again, I just need to do things in steps as opposed to trying to do everything all at once. So I was planning on, there's some areas of deficiency out there. I know that we need to address. And that would be in our next stage, hopefully. I think we're getting close though. I mean, I think we have addressed over 75% of the areas that we felt were lacking. Not that we've done everything though.
Okay. I mean, that's up to everybody. And
Yeah.
then the only other thing that I wanted to mention that I didn't put in here is Bob and I were looking at some property in Pistoia. And on that cart ride, we were talking about the monuments and the roundabouts. And I'm going to quote you, maybe you were wrong, but you said that the $2,500 a year that people can submit to obtain for the monuments or roundabouts is really just for the cul-de-sacs, is just for those, and that we have plenty of money to deal with the monuments outside the 2,500.
The monuments are totally separate.
Okay, so,
Cul-de-sacs of the 2,500, where a community,
We had considered monuments in cul-de-sacs.
well, then that's, okay, that's a shift, and correct me, but in the past, the 2,500, it used to be 1,500, was always dedicated solely to the cul-de-sacs.
I wrote a description at Laura's request and
Okay.
it described monuments and cul-de-sacs.
I was not correct. Expanded.
The roundabouts are separate, which we will take care of. That is not included in anybody else's domain. We will do the roundabouts and pay for them out of funds.
But there's a yearly budget for that, correct, for the roundabouts?
No, the roundabouts are just general.
It's just included in the rest of the landscaping.
It's like.
Yeah, it's not specific.
Okay, I guess I thought previously there was a bucket of money. When that bucket ended, then whatever community came forward and wanted to do their cul-de-sac might go to the
No,
next.
you said roundabouts, though. So yes, for the cul-de-sac.
I'm not talking, I'm saying roundabouts, excuse me.
Yeah, no,
All I'm talking about is cul-de-sac.
there is a set budget
For
with
cul-de-sac.
limited dollars for the cul-de-sacs and the monuments for the HOAs to dip into.
And we do have some funds which Laura will figure out left over from last year because they gave us additional funds last year and we used a lot of it, but I don't think we've used all of it yet.
Which gave you back everything that you spent on the hurricane damage plus a little
Correct.
extra. So,
Correct.
but you've had to do quite a bit of work. But again, I'll have a better feel probably mid next month and then final numbers maybe mid-November.
So are monuments in the cul-de-sac monies, or are they completely separate?
Correct. It's a separate budget item.
There, for the HOAs to request the $2,500 to do their monuments and cul-de-sacs is a separate line item.
But
on
it
the
is to
budget.
do both.
Yes,
Okay, that's where
yes.
I'll now make sure I'm
Yep.
speaking the party line.
Yep.
I thought it was only cul-de-sacs.
No.
Thank you.
In the roundabouts, we know need to be addressed. I was happy that Ameriscape at least cleaned all the crap out. So we're down to just the reticular palms.
They cleaned all the plants out. This is Nancy. They haven't cleaned the mess out.
Well, now our next step is to come up with some kind of design to put out there to be put in. So if anybody wants to provide input with that, feel free. Otherwise, it'll end up with my wife and I probably coming up with something and see if everybody's okay with it. I know Vince may have some opinions because he's been doing some of the cul-de-sacs and monuments. But if anybody else wants to provide input on what to put on the roundabouts, that's great.
Mark, don't
Yeah.
forget that you guys have Scott Holtz. That's
Yeah,
and then also, I mean, lean on Ameriscape to provide some ideas.
well, my past experience with Ameriscape is they're not design people. They will put in what they're comfortable with and put in a lot of them.
Low maintenance.
And I don't know what Scott wants to be involved with. In the past, we would come up with designs and I would just ask Jim, are you okay with these plans? If any of them were unique that we hadn't used before, and he would say yes or no as to whether or not he was comfortable with the plans, but he was not involved with design at all.
Well, so this kind of leads to a bigger discussion, which I think the committee should undertake. Is and we're going to be doing the same thing over on the Gateway side, is coming up with a master landscaping plan. So like if it's trees, you pick, of this group of 3 or 4 trees. If it's bushes or shrubs, this is that way you guys can have a cohesive look. And you may already be doing that, but I'd like to formalize it and get like a master landscaping plan from the committee.
I guess I'm not enthused about limiting myself to what can be used because that's where we got to where we were at this point with 10,000 live oaks and 4,000 black olives and things which the community has been said they're sick of. And so we've actually been introducing new and different trees, which again, Jim approved, had no issues with, but provide a variety of experiences for the people. And so far, people have been very receptive to seeing something different than what
Every site is different. I mean, every site location, choose the right plant, right place is key.
And I don't disagree, but Mark, my concern is the continuity is if you hit the lottery and move to Fiji, that we have some continuity of, you know, your thoughts and ideas. You just gave this as a perfect example that if you don't have any volunteers that you know, take on this task for the roundabouts, that you and your wife will be the ones out there. So that's kind of my point. I mean, you guys you would be the ones to make and decide what is part of that list. That list can be 3, it could be 30. But ideally, I'd like to try to get something, some type of landscaping plan policy in place.
This is Nancy. I'm sorry, but I'm not sure that what you just said is 100% correct. Mark has been sharing a lot of his knowledge. I don't know that we even had a chance to answer that question because I do have ideas based on a lot of the teachings he gave me, books he gave me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, if you want a list, I suppose we could do it, but it would be quite broad. Because he's right. A lot of the stuff that was put in here by Lennar, the community is trying desperately, all communities, to get rid of. So I apologize. I mean, no disrespect, but I don't want you to think that, you know, if something happened to Mark and his wife, that this committee couldn't handle picking out trees and plants.
If you're gonna have such a policy for Gateway, because if that's needed, you certainly share that and then we comment on it, not be limited to it. If that makes sense.
And that's what I was gonna ask, if you have one already, send it over and we will take a look at it and potentially modify it to what we would like to do here.
We're developing ours now. There was
Okay,
several
great.
attempts done at them in the past, and we're gonna kind of combine, look over them and come up with something.
Well, all I know is Pelican Preserve actually had one years ago and I saw it. And it was terrible. I mean, some of the junk they were putting in, but it's what they were comfortable with. I do talk to Ameriscape before I put anything in and say, this is what I want to do. You have a problem with it? And so far, we have only put in, I think, one palm tree that he was not familiar with and had used someplace else. So again, I am running by this not that Ameriscape will always be our vendor, but they are familiar with the plants we are putting in also. So it's not a new experience for them to be expected to take care of them.
Moving right along.
Well, I do want to submit a picture. I didn't bring it with me today. I must have cleaned up all my photos. So we did 2 roundabouts in Prado and they look exactly the same. And those plants are all surviving. So I want to submit a picture for consideration. And I'm sorry I don't have it with me today. I really am. But we can go take a look over there if anyone's interested. And it's one's at the end of Pistoia and the other one's on Cantizaro. I have so much trouble with that word. But it was certainly for Prado, it would be uniform at the circle. So, or the roundabout.
Identical, Nancy, or complementary?
Complementary, and or including some of those same types of
Yes.
plants,
Yeah.
correct?
And along that line, Vince just finished one in Solero, which I'm not saying we have to duplicate that,
I
but
kept it nice and simple.
what I like about Vince's is it is simple and he used primarily agave, which they're tough as nails. I mean, if anything is gonna do well, it's agave. They survive.
And a couple, and
Ours
3
is very
copper
similar.
plants.
And
Let's get
I'm just saying that's another option to consider. And that's why, I mean, I wasn't gonna really get into it today, but I did want to make sure you understand that it is a priority that we get something going to make the roundabouts look presentable. And they have not been
Well,
forgotten.
one thing I know that, I realize that the landscaping plan may be a bit of it's gonna be some work. And I'm glad that you're open to at least looking at what we're gonna be putting together for the districts. Part of the agreement that we have with, well, in the proposed agreement with PPCA for our, what are we calling it, service agreement?
Service.
Is that we will come up with, you guys will have that, so they have something to reference, so,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So it's kind of not an option, but
And
kind
again,
of let you know it's on the radar.
if you
so.
send us a framework.
Yep, we're
we
working
will-
on ours. We'll be happy to share it with you once we get it put together.
All right.
So Scott will.
Fair enough.
I'll volunteer you. Don't shake your head.
Any,
We have like 3 old ones, plus Ronnie had put something together for us for some trees, so you have some stuff to look at. I guess they had a landscape plan at one point, but we're not starting totally from scratch.
any further discussion at this point on that?
This is
One,
Nancy. Are we gonna pick next month? Because I'm sorry, I get a lot of heat.
Are we gonna what?
Pick the plants next
If-
month because
If
I'm
we come
getting a
up
lot
with
of
a
heat.
design,
right now.
absolutely. I mean, we just need to agree on some kind of design and I have no problem going forward. next
Yeah,
month.
I mean, I think if maybe, oh, we can't get together, never mind.
Yep. Peaceful.
You can talk to Vince all you want.
I love doing this stuff.
I was under the impression I couldn't speak
No, you can
directly.
talk to Vince. I'm the one that has this issue.
Oh, didn't know that.
You just can't have a forum.
Actually, you guys can't talk to each other outside of the meeting if you're on the subcommittee.
That's what I've been
Yes,
told.
that's-
That's
yeah.
exactly what I've been told. So I'm just
So if
confused.
there's something that you need to share with the group and it is in the interim, you can always send it to myself or send it to the customer
Well,
care and we can disperse
so
it, but. yeah,
Let me ask this, Nancy, are you reasonably happy with the type of design that Vince came up with?
Yes, what I'd like to do is to send Vince a picture and see if we can't just add a tiny bit more color, because those are big circles.
Yeah,
From the plants that were picked out from the other circles, but yes, I'm fine with that.
You can
So-
send it to me and I can send it to
If
you.
you
so. It's
and you-
daisy chain and we have to be careful, but yeah.
Georgia, and then they can send it to you.
That's fine.
Sorry,
Anyway.
it's a pain. We have to deal with it too, so it's not.
All right.
you guys.
So if you guys want to kind of
We'll
put something
agree.
together, I mean, I have no problem moving forward.
Perfect.
Nancy, if you want to get together, this is Kathy Emerson. If you want to go over to those monuments, I can tell you what the plants are, because I'm allowed to talk to you, I believe. I can tell you what those plants are so that you can convey what you like in writing.
You are the best of this.
Well, I think we can talk, you know what I'd like to do? I appreciate your offer. But since this is the way it has to be, there will be quite a few emails going through the district between me and Vince.
Mhm.
And by the time next meeting comes, I think we'll be in
So
agreement.
that's a picture, he will know what the plants are.
Right,
and that'll-
but I appreciate your offer.
Okay, next item, and one of the last ones on there is replacement of newly installed dead plants. Kathy and I went around and kind of went through, see what we lost, see what still looks good, and quite fortunately, most of it still looks pretty good. And the rains are really causing things to blow up, which is a good thing. We have a few dead bougainvillea where they installed lines of them. They should be under warranty, so I'll talk to Javier. We should be able to get, it's only like maybe 7, which considering we installed 100, that's not too bad. I am watching the silk floss flower tree, which is over along Prado. It's the real spiky one. It's got good size, but it just doesn't look vigorous to me, so I am keeping an eye on that. We'll talk to Javier about that. Obviously, the big area of concern are the Jatropha on Prado. We installed 8 of them total. Javier had told me before we did the work and selected plants that those medians are just crappy for soil and plants struggle. From what I've seen, palm trees seem to do fine, but deciduous trees tend to struggle more. He did approve the Jatropha. He said they should do fine. Obviously, they haven't. As to whether or not it's because of the soil or the fact that the first 3 weeks they were in, it didn't rain, they didn't get irrigation on them right away. I did check them. The stems are still green. A normal plant, you would kind of expect with all the water we're getting, they would re-leaf. But I'm not seeing signs of that at this point. So I don't know if the soil is just so bad, that they're just gonna die no matter what you do. So I will get together with Javier. He's already saying, yeah, if they don't look good, we probably need to do something. So where we are right now is those plants covered a fairly significant area as far as length along Median and Prado. So we have to potentially select new plants to replace, because I'm not gonna put Jatropha back in
Right, of
after those
course.
did what they
Yeah.
did. So I would probably talk to Javier and see, and I asked him once if he had suggestions, and I didn't hear back from him. But I'm assuming we will probably go away from the deciduous potentially, unless he's gonna guarantee that he's got one that will be fine, that will look good. One plant that I have heard from more than one person in the community, which is a pretty cool plant that we could consider, is what's called a traveler's palm. And it's actually in the banana tree family. I assume you know what they are, Scott.
Oh, yes.
We do have two in the community already at homeowners' properties, which kind of surprises me because they get pretty good size, but they're a giant fan-shaped banana type. So we could consider those as a replacement in there, assuming that since it's not in the deciduous tree family, it would do much better than the Jatropha did. But I'm just throwing that out as a possibility.
But if Javier will guarantee the Jatropha to survive, or that he will pay to replace them, would you let him replace them for free?
Well, he will. I hate to do that because, like I said, my opinion is with all the water they're getting, if they were gonna make it, they would rebud.
Yeah.
They're not. There's just, they just continue to die. I mean,
That's the point of no return.
but they are green all the way through the stems.
Yeah.
And they're just not wanting to come back. So. And actually what I would, because I'm cheap, I would almost consider, if we can come up with what we want, another place to put them, I would almost consider just going ahead and pulling them out and putting them someplace else. Cause I think if you put them in a better soil for them and they get plenty of water, they would probably rebud and become nice plants. I mean, we can throw them away because they're covered under warranty. I just don't like doing it.
I agree. I think we should put them somewhere else in the community.
We can potentially
Look
try.
around. Yeah.
We may have to incur a fee to replant them, obviously, but I just hate to throw them away because everything I know about plants tells me they should rebud if you give them enough water, unless they're sitting in something that's so nasty, they just refuse to grow. So back to where we started, the Bougainvillea, I'll just have them replaced because they're in rows of Bougainvillea, so they'll just fill in. And that's fine. Most of them are doing fine. So the only real ones that I have concerns with are those Jatropha. So if people want to come up with suggestions as to possible plants they would like to see, fire away. I don't have to have them right now, but just something to think about. Again, my concern is most of the deciduous plants, what I call deciduous, non-palm, are not doing well in that median. And he knew that and warned me ahead of time that we had to kind of watch that.
How quickly, Cindy Watterson, do we have to move the Jatrophas just to
Today.
save them?
I mean, as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But again, we have to.
Do you think it's possible to amend the soil there at all, or is it just because the, I
Spend thousands of dollars because to have any effect, you need to dig out the whole median and bring in
Sure,
truckloads
okay.
of soil. And it's like, you know what, for a few plants, I don't want to go through that.
Sure. No.
We can find other plants.
Mark, this is Steve. There's one bottle brush that's been struggling right in the middle of 3 out of the 5 that are look beautiful. It's really weepy, going down Cypress.
Okay.
The second grouping, the first grouping, there's
Well,
3.
Are you sure it's a cypress or is it the lignum vitae? Because the lignum vitae are struggling.
It's a bottle brush.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had not noticed those. I noticed the lignum vitae are not prospering as much as I thought they
I
would.
mean, they're blooming with the red
Oh, okay.
bottle brush
All right.
bloom.
I did not notice that.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Then
there's only,
again,
one that's struggling.
We're just trying to note, and if they do die, there is a warranty on them, so
Yeah.
obviously we want to take advantage of the warranty but most of those have done well.
Yeah, they have.
Especially with this rain. This rain is really what they need. So I would task the community with coming up with suggestions as to what they would like to put in to replace the Jatropha. If anybody has suggestions as to where we might want to, and again, I'm not guaranteeing these Jatropha will live if we do move them, but all indications are the stems are still green on them. But they're not trying to leak back out, which leads me to believe we may be at a loss if we leave them there.
You want a medium size to to replace the truffles?
I don't care.
Okay.
We have to hurry up and get it on before we have a plant list that we need to follow.
Right.
Just put it on your plant list.
Zoom.
There you go. And you can follow it.
Yeah, I know.
That was just a guideline.
What page is up?
All right. So anyway, did you have anybody have any other areas of concern as far as plants that, oh, yeah, we did have one at the gold mound out front on one side. Those are the short yellowish ones. One side looks great for the most part. The other side, not so good. And what I see out there is standing water. So what I'm in hopes of, once we get through the rainy season, if they dry out a little bit, have a chance to establish, maybe they'll take off. Otherwise, we may have to replace a few of the gold mound out front because I think they're just waterlogged and are struggling at this point and did not have a chance to get established before the rain finally came. Everything else, I'm pretty happy with.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is Bob. I had a question. There's a couple of dead trees on Ravenna where they've been ground down to the stump.
Yep.
And I know we had some concerns about whether it was within our purview or
Yep.
not. And I think that's been resolved. So first of all, are you aware of that?
Yep.
Okay. So then they will be addressed in the future.
Yep.
Thank you.
What Bob is referring to is when we took out the stumps for Ian, I was not positive that was part of our area, even though Ameriscape had been maintaining it. So I told them not to do that area until we had identified whether or not it was ours. The area around the Sienna Pond, we are determining that is not ours, so we do not have to do those stumps. So, but obviously, anything that's ours, we will take care of. Laura will give us money and we will do it.
Well, it's your own money. I'm just letting you spend it.
Carol?
And just to conclude, your meeting, Colonel Hancock, I had a neighbor that, has been gone, Snowbird, and they came back last week. And, I was talking with Yvonne and she said, you know, I came back and just everything looks nicer. What happened? And I said, well, you know, doing some changes of landscape. Well, it just looks nicer here. So, for what it's worth, I think you're gonna see a lot of people when they come back now are gonna repeat that same thing.
And
Pelican looks nicer.
that was my hopes, and thank goodness the rains came when they did, because you can tell everything is
Oh, yeah.
growing so much more now, and hopefully it'll be a much better experience when you come back.
And, this is Bruce. I snuck back down to Pelican about 2 weeks ago for a long weekend, and it was very noticeable, the changes, because none had started when I left. And as soon as you get into the gate, you do see the changes.
Looks good.
And, you know, the nature of people are always to complain, but I've only heard some good stuff. And to add to what we were talking about, the monuments before, you know, I live in Matarita, and one of the homeowners took it upon himself to help design one of the monuments. And he went with his design that was approved by the committee. And I think the variation of different monuments leads to more character to the community. So to have a standard plan choice for every spot, I think is more negative than positive. And I think where I saw the different monuments that I've known we've done already, I think the variation is a plus as opposed to being, standard. The only thing I look forward to seeing is what Vince had done in Solero, because when I was there a couple of weeks ago, it was just basically dirt. My concern is that Vince didn't steal my agave from around my lanai to use.
Well, keep in mind too that Laura, we talk about plant choice. There's each of the monuments is going to be different. You have different soil, you have different irrigation, you have different sight lines. So like what works for one monument isn't necessarily going to work for all monuments. So
We'll still have.
it's just guidelines. Yeah, it's just guidelines.
And just for the, we did lose 1 7-gallon copper leaf on the entrance coming in around that back area. I wanted to make note of that, so we'll get that replaced. And we lost 1 foxtail fern where you turn into sienna, which, considering the amount of plants that we put in, that's not too bad. The crotons are all looking good that we planted along Pelican Preserve Boulevard. I mean, there's just a lot more color than there used to be. All right, does anybody have further discussion for today's meeting at this time?
I
have
do,
one
Mark.
more.
Okay, Chelsea, go ahead.
Hold on, let me shut my door real quick. So I just wanted to get everybody up to speed. We're talking about the Veneto and Vincenza intersection. So they're mowing right outside my office door. The Safety and Security Subcommittee had some concern with the rumble strips and site visibility and the site triangle pulling out of the side street.
Into Veneto.
Vincenza. So what we had done over the summer was we had a survey taken and we had the site triangle staked out. We had the City of Fort Myers code enforcement officer come out and inspect the visibility and the staking that was done by our surveyor. And the result of that, which the Safety and Security Subcommittee will be discussing, I believe, at today's meeting, is that there's some landscaping that has to come out in order to address the site triangle. So I just wanted to let the landscape subcommittee know that that is in discussions at the Safety and Security Subcommittee, and if there's any action that needs to be done, of course there will be coordination with Mark and provide an update to you all at a later date.
And I had requested a quote from Ameriscape. I'm actually the one that worked through that with the city. It was $450. There's 2 trees, one big tree that needs to come out.
Well, it's a small southern magnolia, but
yeah.
it's small and
Some bushes.
and just trim some bushes, $450.
$450 to make it right.
I went ahead and approved it because I mean, that's, if it takes care of that corner, I mean.
That's something we've been fighting with at least as long as I've been here.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
And,
Yeah, for $450.
people who live there are like, do whatever you have to do.
Right, they wanna make it right too.
And if it doesn't cost them anything, then,
Thanks for bringing that up, Chelsea.
I forgot to put that on my list. Thank you.
okay, Nancy, you had.
At the last meeting, you had asked me to suggest a palm replacement at Grosseto.
Yep.
I would like to see a Montgomery palm put in there.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't know, I guess I'm gonna make a motion to go ahead and approve a Montgomery palm or get a quote from Ameriscape.
See what it looks like.
Yeah.
We actually have a Montgomery palm close to the roundabout.
Very nice.
Pretty, right?
Mayor really liked them when he was here. And we do have a couple in the median close to the Carino roundabout.
What about those where the 7 or 8 trees died?
Before you get to those,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
there's some palms and one of those is a Montgomery.
Very nice.
It is nice.
So shall I request a quote from Ameriscape? Mark?
I'll do it.
You'll do it? Okay.
It's because they send them to me.
Everything goes to Mark. and-
Anybody seconding the motion?
I will second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll put in a Montgomery Palm, assuming the quote doesn't come in crazy at, in that cul-de-sac.
Okay, and then the last thing, and I apologize for so much today, but I want to go back to the front, the monument area. The one thing that we haven't discussed nor has really been started is a landscape plan up there. So if we're going to take this to P-PAC eventually December, January for approval, we probably ought to start working on that as well as a team. So I don't know if it would make sense for us to do like we did when we went down Cypress and Pelican, you know, to have a meeting at the front and really start talking about landscaping up there as well.
Related to that, if you look at what we have for responsibility, we basically out front have the monument
Okay,
and we don't have much else.
okay,
So what I have requested, and I don't know where it will go, is that wall part that comes around, the tall solid wall part that was recently painted. There's like 4 sections of it. I requested that that be considered to be turned over to our group, so we could consider that as part of our landscaping for coming into the community. And, because right now there's not much there.
Okay.
But right now, we're just supposed to do the monument, and then we have 15 feet from the road, which leaves the majority of that area in front of the wall to the community. And it's like, so we're gonna do our little part, then they're gonna come in and do the, and for continuity, and it wouldn't be that much money, in my opinion, that we consider it's over here, this area right here is where the tall flat wall is.
Mhm.
And in discussions with PPCA, if they would be receptive to giving us an easement up to the wall. We don't want the wall.
Just
Just for
that's what
landscape.
this is, with the shaded areas on both sides are currently PPCA. And we are trying to get all of it.
Well, we have the monuments though.
Not,
Right.
not according to this.
Oh, I thought the monument.
Well, generically speaking, we have all the monuments, but from a landscape point of view, this is what the community association currently has responsibility for, and we're in discussions with them to have an easement for us.
So the
And I'll
part
give you
that,
everything you're asking.
the part that I'm talking about is potentially a little bit further than
Yes,
what that
it's
shaded
the
area
monument. It
shows.
would go up the tree line.
If you go out to the
Yeah.
front and look,
I think you already got that. That I think you have. Unless it's greater than 15 feet.
it is greater than 15 feet.
Okay. And I don't know who has it. I haven't asked.
And that's why I'm saying if we stick to the 15 feet, then there's a gap between what we have and the wall.
But that's colonial to Pelican Reserve Boulevard, right?
Correct.
That's not what this is. This is going towards,
This is tree line.
yeah, but this is,
Yeah.
the firehouse is down this way.
Right.
What we're referring to about the gap of the wall is down here, or the gap of the
No,
fence.
but right now, there's the Pelican Preserve Monument right here, the bigger
Yep,
one
yep,
with the
yep,
fountains
yep,
and things
yep,
like
yep,
that.
Yep,
A little bit further than that, there are big flat wall panels
Towards the fire station.
toward the fire station.
Heading
Okay.
south, heading south.
I do not believe we have that.
Right,
Right,
and that's,
okay.
that's
That's
what
what
I
he's
brought up at
requesting.
Okay, I'm
yesterday's
sorry.
meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, if we could just get those 4 panels, we could do a more of a continuous design as opposed to us trying to do part of it out here and wanting PPCA to finish off the back part
Okay.
closer to the wall.
If you're
We're
asking,
talking about a landscape maintenance easement, not for the wall, just the
Correct.
landscaping.
I
but
don't,
if
I
you
don't want
want
to
a
touch that.
landscape maintenance easement for those first 4 panels, I
Correct.
will get this modified and we'll present it to PPCA.
That's, and that's what I'm talking
And
about.
I think we were okay with it yesterday when we talked.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
definitely receptive.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
And there's no reason why they wouldn't be to get rid of that responsibility.
First 4
But-
panels.
That goes to Nancy's concern of trying to get some continuity coming around. And again, if we have to stop at the edge of the monument right now, that leaves a large area which needs attention.
4 panels, 40 feet, maybe 60
Might be
feet.
more than that.
Yeah, they look bigger than that.
I'll go out and look at it. Okay.
Anyway,
We'll get them modified.
you know what I'm talking about.
Well,
Again, does that somewhat address your concern or?
Well, yes and no. I mean, there are also, around the monument itself, there's also landscaping that needs to be done. So within 15 feet of that monument, I believe.
Okay, somehow we'll have,
That should be in this zone though, isn't it?
Yeah.
well, I'm not saying we don't have authority to do what she's talking about. I guess somehow we need to have a discussion to talk about it without violating sunshine laws.
Go out
And
and I'll take pictures. Nobody talks, different golf
Or
carts.
we could go out together, can't we, and call it a meeting?
No.
Like we
no,
do?
you're not allowed to do that.
We can't do that.
This is the only restriction. You've got to go in separate
Now,
carts. We don't
now,
talk
let me ask,
back.
so as long as we're getting into this type of question, why can't we hold a meeting where all we do is have a meeting right there? We're not moving around because as I understand, Tony's problem with what we were doing before was it was a moving meeting. We can call a meeting anywhere we want.
Publicly noticed meeting.
Correct.
Instead of having it
I
here.
would have to
we're gonna
pack,
have it
I don't know. if
Well,
it's new.
well, I mean,
Yeah,
because if we want to address this appropriately, we need to have a discussion where we can stand there and look at it. And I mean, so I would propose, if you could find out, if we can have a meeting, it would not be a traveling meeting, it would just be a meeting held out front. We will notice it, public is invited to attend. We will not move. We will just hold it right there on the corner.
For October.
Doesn't have to be October.
I was gonna say sooner.
We'll find out.
You need 7 days notice, that's all.
Right, right. I don't want to have our normal monthly meeting out there.
Okay.
No, just
Special
a
meeting.
well, we have to, it has to be, have minutes and all that stuff.
I
So,
understand
yeah.
all that.
Yep.
And I'm willing
I'll
to
ask.
comply.
I'll ask.
It's just a location change, that's all.
Right. It would be a published meeting, minutes, quorum, the whole 9 yards. It will not move. I can set up a table if that's what they.
I'll bring a flag.
Bring chairs.
Umbrella.
There's a flag out there. We can do the pledge of allegiance.
Don't have to bring.
Anyway, I think that, my opinion, that would be the best way to try and address what we can do out there.
This is Nancy, in my opinion, I agree.
And as far as continuity, I mean, we are trying at this point. I mean, we have the fire bush that we cut back and is coming back nicely thanks to Ameriscape. That was their suggestion as opposed to replacing it. We've taken out the juniper and we've continued around with the gold mound. So it's starting to look
Brighter.
not only brighter, but again, there is continuity. The only thing that I did not do is on this side, we have large copper leaf along that low wall because the ligustrum had basically crapped out and died.
Mm.
Where the ligustrum behind this low curved wall are all doing very well. And I just hate to take them all out when there's nothing wrong with them. Maybe we'll consider that in the future just to get one, continuity, and two, more color if you alternate the burgundy and white green. We can consider that, but again, ligustrum died on one side where they're perfectly healthy on the other. Again, I'm cheap. I'll admit it.
Frugal,
Frugal.
frugal.
Depends on who you talk to.
That's how I put it, frugal.
So Laura will investigate whether or not we can convene a meeting out there and go that route and discuss
I'll let you all
a
know.
plan, and Bob will pursue whether or not we will have the ability.
I'm gonna add it to the agreement with.
And I,
And I brought it up yesterday when I got back, because I had taken that as a note from our meeting yesterday as well.
and,
So we talked about it yet?
we had a meeting at the board yesterday to discuss easement concerns and Faye Famoso and, Nancy Straw was there, were there, and they were definitely receptive to us doing that.
Because they're all about the continuity. So,
Yeah,
As, you know, as we all, yeah,
and
Yeah.
the lack of cost to them.
Yes.
and lack of cost.
Well, you guys are all still paying it anyway. It's just coming out of your taxes instead of HOA dues.
So, all right,
Thank you.
so that's something we will pursue. You have anything else, man?
Nope.
How about a motion to adjourn?
Second. Steve. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sit here by yourself.
Elk Grove, stay away every month.
That's our meetings. Always looking for areas of improvement.